want to welcome our viewers to Kennesaw Happenings podcast. I'm Golfer Pete, and I have another golfer on there. So this could actually fall under the golf podcast. So we'll put it out there. But we might talk some golf. We might talk senior living. We might talk about whatever. So Rand, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve out there, and then we'll start our podcast.
Yeah, so my name's Rand Eberhard. I'm the director of congregational care at Church of the Apostles. I intersect with Pete in the area of senior care service, as well as golf and Pine Tree local there in Kennesaw. And yeah, we have a lot of crossover and a lot of similar interests and a shared heart out here.
Yes. Yeah, that shared heart's a big one, even though our golf game's a pretty good one too.
Yep.
You'll know Rand from his previous podcast. This guy ran in a 50-footer uphill with a couple feet of break, and he called the putt before he putted. It's the most incredible putt I've ever been around. I've played golf for 50 years. But you know how people, viewers, you'll associate with this. You think in your mind you're going to make it, and you don't tell anybody because you're like, well, what if I don't make it? I'm going to feel like I went out on a limb. This guy looked at me, pointed to me, goes, this one's for you. And he ran it in, and it went center cut, just the speed. And if you could have seen the putt, it was uphill, first, second hole, whatever it was, early in the round. So you usually don't have your putting stroke down. This guy had it down, and he drained it center cut. I call it the putt heard around the world. So Rand, thank you for making that putt.
Oh, that was a great moment in life for me.
Yes.
And seeing that fall, that was an amazing, it was for Eagle on call, and just had I felt like God divinely inspired the blessing of what it was.
Yes. I've really never felt divinely inspired playing golf, but I did on that putt.
Yeah.
It was like,
dude,
oh my gosh. I've told at least thousands of people that, and I have pictures of it. I mean, it's that was cool. That was cool. So let's get back. We could talk golf all day long, but let's go back to our seniors. And what do you feel in your ministry? What are the seniors feeling today that might be different than it was 5 years ago? What are you seeing in your experience?
Well, as you know, I've connected you into the Atlanta Senior Care Network niche, and it's a collection of 300 plus senior care providers. And thankfully, my friend Jana, who's on the board there, recruited me to join on behalf of the church, and I did so 3 years ago. And since then, I've hosted networking events here at the church a number of times. The point of all that is I make referrals from our congregation directly into the Atlanta Senior Care Network on almost a daily basis. So when people even yesterday hit me with needs for Medicare, connecting with a law firm, elder care law firm that specializes in a living will and a trust and things like this, just yesterday I made referrals to both those different outlets with full confidence. Because as you know, Pete, it takes time to vet folks. Yep. And make a referral on a first name basis with high confidence that you are entrusting somebody to the right outlets.
And, in your position, there's a lot going on, and we talk about it when we're playing golf, like phones always ringing. It's just, there is a lot of needs out there. So what is it like that to be able to help people? I mean, to come down to where you can point people in the right directions to get their issues resolved. How long have you been doing that?
Well, as you've often affirmed in me through our friendship, through life, I'm just a natural connector and a networker, and I help good people meet good people from a variety of different areas of life. So in the context of what I'm doing here in the church and pastoral care, there's two parts: response to critical matters in the church, be it senior care, be it hospitalization, be it trauma, be it tragedy, tending to those pastorally, and then also restoration, which is restoring people to faith, hope, and love amidst addiction, hopelessness, mental health issues, etc. But I've been doing this pastoral ministry for 6 years here in my role, 6.5 years.
Mm-hmm. What, you mentioned addiction, and we don't have to go very far to know we got issues out there. What are you seeing that in your eyes and in the work you're doing with really taking a person in a vulnerable position? What do you see in the addiction? Has it increased in the last couple of years? Has it stayed the same? What have you seen with your experience?
Well, I think it definitely has increased just because of the intensity of the world we live in.
Okay.
The fear of the future underlines a lot of anxiety and depression. Anxiety, loosely speaking, is the absence of guarantee. And when we anticipate future events and we live psychologically in the future, meaning all of our thoughts track around what's to come and anticipating that with a fearful disposition, then naturally we do things that make us feel better and try to alter our mood some way. And then that becomes compulsive behavior. So I think based on the world that we live in is heightened the amount of anxiety and therefore depression as we tend to self-regulate and self-manage our problems instead of looking at pathways to peace that are life-giving.
What, you said 6.5 years ago. So what led you to your position today? I mean, what was that path like?
Yeah, there's a longer answer to the one that I'll briefly give, but at 25 years old, I was a strung out alcoholic, drug addict, hopeless, death wish on my life, had anger and fear and sadness would inform my day-to-day decisions. So in other words, I allowed anger and intensity to tell me what to do instead of logic and, spirituality and connection with trustworthy, good people. I just lived in the moment and burned my life to the ground, so to speak. And God created space for me to get into a 9-month Christ-centered residential program where I lived up at No Longer Bound. We share another common interest there. You've been generous to bring me to the banquet here last year for No Longer Bound, and it was there that my ministry started. That was 22 years ago. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've been working in the restoration side of things, helping people out of addiction. For 17 years here in Atlanta, I was a youth pastor and football coach. And another little golf side note is I was a professional disc golfer. For 18 years. I was one of the top players in Atlanta, and those were fun times.
Yeah, disc golf is fun. I mean, it's an outdoor activity that wraps around the concept of golf, and it is kind of fun to be outdoors throwing that frisbee into
you can see that picture of me in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Really?
At the U.S. Disc Golf Championship, which has become a huge event around the world.
Yeah.
People play from all over the globe in that event now, but I represented the state of Georgia 2 years as a pro disc golfer.
Wow. Rock Hill, that's where my brother's family lives. So
Winthrop.
Been to Rock Hill many a times.
Yep.
Yeah. So that tells me, like, so we always like our seniors, and I feel like I live in a senior community, so I see it from a different set of eyes than I did, say, 5 years ago. So our seniors, you don't normally see the drug addiction. What do you see prevalent in seniors that the young people see a different side of maybe depression, or they see different challenges? What do you see our seniors being challenged with today in the fast-paced nature of it?
I think loneliness is one that could very easily find resolution.
Uh-huh.
I think loneliness is probably the biggest one, and that leads to mental health problems like depression and isolation. And as the old saying goes, idle hands are the devil's workshop.
Yeah.
Our grandparents used to say something like that. And I think generationally, for the active senior to power through a mood or a fleeting thought that becomes an obsessive thought, such as, oh my gosh, I'm lonely, and what do I do today? And I don't have the energy or the interest to engage with the world around me. I think looking for ways to power through that. Maybe that's a prayer time or reading the Word of God, a devotional time, self-reflection. One of the things that I do that you will definitely find an interest in, and I'll include a copy of this, is I personally conduct a daily moral inventory.
Ooh.
For a senior to do something like this, and I actually have investors that are helping me build this into an app that's going to be available to the masses. And once I'll definitely share that with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this is a list of liabilities and assets of character. And I start my day each day reflecting on the day prior, and it helps me mobilize through these feelings of inferiority, despair, hopelessness, worry, self-righteousness, pride, intensity, whatever it is. Things like this can help motivate your day unexpectedly.
Yeah.
And I'll send a copy of this with you.
Yeah, I would love that. And we'll, wherever it's available for our listeners, we'll put links in the show notes for you to make it easier for our people that are listening that, might be trapped in that loneliness mindset, because I do see that.
Here's what it looks like filled out.
Oh, okay.
You can
see a solid one is better than empty one, or check mark is what how's that work?
A check mark means that you're on the asset side.
Okay.
So peace versus control. Joy versus distress.
Okay.
You write down the list and you put a check mark if you're on the asset side. You color it in halfway if it were an issue the prior day. And if it were a recurring issue and dominated your thought life or your attitude and your behavior, then you darken the box in its entirety. So it's essentially check mark, half color, or full color. And it helps me reflect on, where am I struggling? Where am I depleted? Where am I where am I lacking intentionality and awareness? And a fault recognized is half corrected. So that's the motivation behind this thing. Yeah. So
no, that's genius. I love it. I have to agree with you when you talk about when you get to be a senior, you don't wake up one day and all of a sudden feel lonely. It's a progression of events in your life that kind of lead you. So if you're not, whatever you don't track, you can't measure. So, but I think the emotion part of it, it's hard for us to sometimes see us going into a depression because we're not tracking that journey. Then you wake up one day and you can't get out of bed and you don't see the hope. And it didn't happen in one night. It happened over a period of time.
Right.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I tell you, I'd invest in that app for sure.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you think of it, you have to kind of know emotionally where you are.
Right.
If you don't, you will wake up and all of a sudden it's going to hit you right between the eyes. So how
Right.
did you come up with that? What was the thought behind that?
So for a number of years at No Longer Bound, I used to do a daily moral inventory, but the one that they used was designed for a person in a residential program.
Okay.
And after many years of doing it, I designed my own specific to the things that I struggle with and the character and mindset qualities that I'm striving for.
Right.
So I worked it out to reflect those things, and it's still a work in progress. And once we develop the app, I think it's really going to be fine tuned and available to the masses with some creative ideas that really help bring it to life.
Yeah, and I think a person in your work and what you're doing in the ministry, every day you're engaging with people. So, they always say in the marketing world, you got to have a focus group. Sometimes it's so narrow that you don't really get a true sense, but you're living it every day. So your engagement with your community allows you to understand how people are thinking and what they're struggling and going through.
Yeah.
So what can you give our viewers like a few success stories that you have seen that, by putting an emotional compass on their life, what you were able to see as a result of it?
So, one of the areas that I help, one of the areas that I have a ability to help set the captive free through Christ and me is the person that has experienced the failure to launch.
Okay.
Age 20 or mid 30s. And they all have the same profile. Huge expectation on their lives. And this helps intergenerationally, even for an elderly listener or a person that is older, to look at the generations behind them within their own family and how they are empowering a person or hindering a person from stepping into their full potential. Okay. And what I do is when a person comes to me, even if it's an older person, help them understand the difference between expectation and confidence. Okay. So it's been said in the context of recovery, but in relationships in general, that expectations are premeditated resentment. And I don't know if you've ever heard me say that, Pete, but that's one of my key quotes.
Okay.
Expectations are premeditated resentment.
I like that.
So the goal is to empower a person through confidence that grows in that individual's potential based on the trust they build and the tasks and the markers that are able to hit in life. You go over those things together. You lay out goals and strategies of getting there. And as a person achieves certain things, it grows the confidence in the individual that is the worker and the individual over here that is investing time and money and resources in that person they're trying to affect for good, versus the expectation that says, I expect you to have this business card by the time you're 28. Mm-hmm. By the time you're 40, I expect you to be a member of Cherokee or Atlanta Athletic Club because those are social markers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like how significant are you out here?
Yeah.
And it's a subtlety. People don't say, I expect you to have this, but it's this felt need. And then the individual who's 20, 25, 35 years old, they have this felt pressure of having to present a certain image. So then they live way beyond their means and they make a certain amount of money and then have a lifestyle that is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So I don't know if all that it encompasses what we're talking about here, but I try to fly by it real quick and give picture to it.
No, it makes so much sense because as you're explaining this, I'm relating it to when people move into this building, their life is, let's say they move in at 65. They've had a life before 65, and you move in, and you remember when you moved into like a new place as a young person, you're trying to get connected and accepted.
Yeah.
You were 25, so your expectations hadn't really developed like you just described. But you move in here, it's like, you can't well, Rand, tell me your history in 10 minutes. It's like, yeah, really. But you're trying to get accepted, but it's hard because you got life in your head and you have all these experiences. Now you're trying to reconnect with a different community. And I think I know for the seniors here, that's a challenge because it's like nobody knows who you are until you move in here. Right. And I love that when you start laying out things on a daily basis, you can recognize patterns in your life and avoid things that are going to be happening if you continue to think the way you're thinking, whether it's loneliness or whatever. But yeah, that's really, really good. I mean, I think our seniors will appreciate the fact that there's something tangible that they can put down on paper on a daily basis, because you're right, it doesn't happen overnight. Right. It happens over, like when you showed us the chart, I don't know, say it's 25 days that you showed us. That's your 20-day journey of you self-reflecting on how you feel in these different areas. Yeah. I think our viewers will really like that.
Yeah. And I don't know how clearly you can see it, but on the 6th, I had a really bad day, followed by a really good day.
Right.
And the amount of bad days that could easily stack up on us if there's no introspection, they just come and go, or they're, especially as we move into colder days and shorter nights and less activity. It's easy to feel isolated and not be intentionally a student of life, and more importantly, a disciple of Christ.
Right.
So as we meet in those areas, we come at things with clarity and intentionality, and then the byproduct of these things is connection, and the fullness of life as Jesus described in John 10:10.
Oh, I love it. I love the idea. We'll get Celeste to post that chart so people can have access to it, because I think I know the therapy journey is sometimes intimidating for people that have never experienced the benefits of therapy. So they're reluctant to jump into a world that somebody's going to self-reflect, or you're going to expose things.
Yeah.
Here, you can start your journey with yourself every day.
Yeah.
And I think that can build the confidence, like you talked about at the beginning, the confidence that, I see a pattern here, that if I continue on this path, I know the outcome's not going to be what I really want.
Right.
And make the changes to do whatever you need to get help or reach out to somebody. I know you were go ahead. You have something to say?
So I was gonna say an example on here is insecurity, shame, self-condemnation, hopelessness, blame. These are the kind of things that could easily happen on a recurring basis. But as we track them, now we're consciously thinking about, what can I do to get to the root of this issue? And it helps through interpersonal connection, where you sit in the lunchroom down there in y'all's facility, and you see Pete down there, and you say, "Hey, Pete, look, I got my DMI here, and let's look at the last 3 weeks. I've had hopelessness marked 14 of 21 days. Can we talk about that for a minute?" And just to have a friend to zero in on exactly the need that is exactly the problem that is hindering the things that we're going for. Just that alone is therapy. That alone is getting to the core issue. So it's a great tool, and if you would have people use it, and then share with me some of what they did, so we can get some statistics anonymously around how to better develop this app.
Well, now that you made that invitation, I'll share with you. So on the fourth Wednesday each month, we invite a podcast guest to come in and speak live to our seniors and our senior community. So I think what would be really nice is we put you on the calendar into 2024.
Okay.
Then give us time to really put this in place, and then they can definitely give you feedback, because
that'd be great.
Somebody a couple months can say, hey, this is what I was able to see. And you can speak to it to our newer people that maybe don't have access. But yeah, it's always good in person too, for you people to meet you. Yeah. And we have a putting green right in the courtyard.
Nice.
And Podcast Pete was able to put that in.
Oh, cool. Good idea.
So, when I go to the gym, my routine is take 2 putts. And so, as a golfer, bring it back to golf. We always have to bring it back to golf.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't get 25 putts to make it unless you have a lot of mulligans on a captain's choice tournament. You have 1 putt, maybe 2 if you bought a mulligan. So I do, my mindset is I got 1 putt. Let me see if I can make it. If I miss it, I have 1 more attempt. And then that's it. I don't sit there and just keep putting, because that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Golf is, they give you a shot and they either make the most of it, or next shot. Yeah. So let's talk to our viewers about, so I know you've referred people to me, and I will validate for my viewers. Rand knows people that can help you. I mean, we had Bruce Pulver on last week. Holy mackerel. It was funny.
Great guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I remember you told me like a month ago when you mentioned, you say, oh, yeah, and he has a TED Talk. And it went like right over my head.
Right.
So I'm looking. I don't know this guy from Adam. I Google him the morning before he's supposed to be on, because I was having him do Zoom instead of being in here. So I Googled him. I see this TED Talk. I'm going, holy mackerel. And I listened to it. Oh, you got a Bruce Pulver TED Talk. Just Google it, viewers. And the word, how he defined it as, the words, they mean something.
Yeah.
And, it was like so enlightening to hear somebody talk about the power of just a word. Right. How we describe things. And I think for yourself, when you're laying it out, be careful of the words you choose, because they mean something.
Yeah.
Bruce had just an excellent TED Talk. So thanks for bringing him on the show, because I know our viewers are going to love. Well, they already have. So that's good. So let's go back to so your family, they live up in the Kennesaw area. So what challenges are you facing with, a dad raising girls? What are you seeing out there today?
Yeah, here's a picture of my family.
Oh yeah. And I see a tennis player in there right in the middle.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Eliza, our oldest, 17, she just won a really intense tennis match on a Sunday that was 2 hours long, and she fought through it and won, and she practices a lot, and it's amazing to see her excel. I try really hard against her. I'm not good at tennis, but I try, and I'm athletic enough to play with her. And she beats me every time we play now, because she's worked hard at it. So some of the challenges we face, obviously, with teenage girls is how they engage the social world around them. Just as we're talking about seniors in their stage of life, so the question always is, what is your unmet need? And more than anything, it's a spiritual one.
Right.
And we look for externals as if everything around us were going the way we think it should go. That's expectation. Okay. Then we lack the transcendent piece that's spiritual. And we try to control things around us to conform to our ideas and our agenda. And we have this God-sized hole in our hearts. Well, the same with a 17-year-old, same with an 11-year-old. They have an idea of how people should act or how the world around them should function. And more times than not, we can say as older people, the world disappoints us and people disappoint us. But what internally can we manage? And that is the DMI, the condition of our heart, a daily reflection. And who am I? Am I the best version of myself today because I was a student of yesterday? And if that's the answer, even for the teenager or us or an older person, then at that point, you're a life-giving person because you're self-aware and you're situationally aware. So for a teenager, it's hard to articulate that message and have them buy into that. But if we do buy into this concept of what does today offer me, and am I going to be a contributor, a giver, or a taker? And the taker is the one that is dominant, that is mad, that is controlling, that it lacks selflessness, lacks self-control. And there again, what a great way to just cut to the chase, right?
Yes. Yeah, there's a gentleman that was on about a month ago, and he runs an organization called Youth Centric. And Scott really talked about today, when we were growing up, if there was a party, you didn't know about it. I mean, you found out after the fact. Now they're streaming it live and you're going like, oh man, I didn't get invited to that party. So you're feeling that significance go down.
Yeah.
And because everything is right front and center in our face now. And so it's putting that pressure on teenagers that we didn't have when we were growing up.
Great
we
point.
had our set of challenges, but they're new ones now because the world is very much in our face. Yeah. So I'll connect you up with Scott because he's doing some wonderful things with college kids and high schoolers and helping connect both of them because, we know that they don't always listen to the parents or not. They do. But if somebody else says it, it's like, oh, hey, Dad, this person said, and you go, yeah, that's what I've been sharing with you for years. But
you can hear it differently.
It comes from a different person. It's like, oh yeah, that's good. But but Scott is working with the high schoolers and the colleges to really connect the youth with each other because their challenges are different than ours. I mean, totally different. And it's an open book of everything. And that puts a lot of pressure on girls, because I have girls too. So we have that similarity, and mine are a little older, but they still have challenges that are different today than they were before. Yeah. So were you able to get any of your girls to play golf?
Yeah, my youngest, the 11-year-old Emma Drew, who's named after my brother who passed tragically. But she played her first juniors golf with Corey Evans out there at Pine Tree, and she did great. She really excelled first year playing and hit a lot of pressure shots. Yeah, and juniors golf at that level is different. In that they play kind of like a 2-man or 3-man scramble against another team. so there's less pressure in trying to shoot a number.
Right.
Any shot counts. But yeah, she had a great time, and I'm hoping that she'll play again in the spring.
Well, it's a good sport. Any sport, I think, for kids to be able to excel in something that allows them to go out there and, have a fun time and enjoy it. So what, I know you have, out of Pine Tree too, your wife plays tennis. So has she been playing tennis out there for a long time?
She has. And in fact, we just went to General Bassett's 90th birthday at Pine Tree last Saturday night. And it's amazing to see. There's a lot of people there that are all part of the tennis community and the Bassett family. But Brigadier General retired from Dobbins Air Force Base, but he had a career in the Air Force, and he's a 90-year-old tennis player at Pine Tree, and he's out there enjoying his life, and he's active and incredible person. But Jenny's well connected up there socially, far more than I am in the golf side of things.
Yeah, I've hit some golf balls on the tennis court, but that's as close as
That's a special achievement, Pete.
Yeah. Wide right is definitely off of 10 now. You can get there on the golf court, on the tennis court. So yeah, my dentist used to play there, and so I said, I haven't played there yet, but you probably picked up one of my golf balls that I hit astray. So I'm always curious. Pickleball that has taken off. Does Jenny play pickleball? Is that
a little bit? But when she does, she's always asking herself, "Why am I doing this?" Though it's a hugely popular sport.
Yeah,
she's a tennis player, and a lot different fundamentally.
But Pine Tree has
they have
played out, right?
Yep.
Am I assuming that's correct? I don't know.
Correct. And they're trying to get a lot more interest in that, and there's pickleball courts all over the country that stay packed around the clock. And tennis courts don't. So there's a lot less running in that sport, and it's hugely popular.
Awesome. Well, I know you have work to do down at where you are. You have people to talk to. So how can people get a hold of you?
People can reach out to me. Email is the best way to get in touch with me. And it's reberhard@apostles.org.
Okay.
And we'll put that with the notes and with the DMI that I send. Will be easy to connect with me. And
awesome. And we, for our viewers that like the topic that we're talking about, and that of any seniors that could benefit, share this podcast with them. And then Rand's going to be on every 2 weeks. So feel free, if you have questions that you want to ask them, the comment section is a beautiful place to put them. So if you have a question that needs to be addressed, or you would like him to talk about it on a future podcast, then just put it down there, and we'll see what we can do to bring it to you as a viewer, and let your seniors know that this chart is available, and we'll put it on our social page so people can download it and be able to start tracking their mood and what they're thinking each day.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Pete. I'm honored, and I'm excited to know each of your viewers, and I'm thankful that I have this platform to just speak optimistically and encouragingly into everyone's life that listens.
Excuse me. That's post-COVID right there.
Yeah.
So we always let our guests leave us with a parting insight. Could you share with our viewers something that you'd want them to take home today? Yeah.
How about the verse that I wrote my wedding vows, and it's kind of like a personal mission statement. It says Proverbs 21:21. He who pursues righteousness and love finds life, prosperity, and honor. And let that word speak to your heart as it does mine every time I recite it.
Wow. Thank you, Rand. That's a treat for our viewers. We don't always get treats every single episode, but they got one today.
I'm honored. Thank you, Pete.
Hey, thank you much, Rand. We appreciate you being a guest and taking the time to share with our viewers the things that are going on in your life and how they can benefit.
Honored. You guys have a great day.
Okay.